My mama lied. You should be ashamed. You should be ashamed. You should be ashamed.
It's gonna be up. Welcome back, Jackson, Mississippi, and these United States. To make it make sense, Jackson, I am your honored, although somewhat sobering host, Tariq Abdul-Tawwab, along with my esteemed young co-host, aka Young Man, aka KP. So if you hear me say Young Man, bless you, brother. If you hear me say Young Man, I'm not referring to my producer, aka Mr. Wilson, but I'm referring to the young man next to me. But welcome back, everybody, to the second set of our Make It Make Sense week. As we always start the show, we hope as many of you all got as much done productively since yesterday as you could, and we hope as many of your loved ones that left out came back to you safely. Let's start every show as we do with a brief moment of silence for those that did not return or come back home. And then start off with the young man as usual, with the young energy to the older. So how you doing, young man? How you feeling?
First off, WABT, bro. What's up with this weather, bro? I'm looking at the weather. It's 42 degrees and it's 67, bro. What's up with that? I'm just saying.
Did a young man been angry at WLBT? You got to stop putting out things and having our young man come out of the floor, and you sitting up there knowing it's going to be 82 degrees.
Come on, bro.
False. Remember that joke a while ago where someone said the weatherman, and there's another word for media, they're the only ones that do not ever have to be right to keep their job. And then the weathermen fall back and were like, you don't understand how hard it is. So
82 degrees.
Yeah, it's 82. It's a much different day. So, but welcome back, everybody. You know, it's a big day. It's election day. Now, unfortunately, those of you all that were on with us yesterday, unfortunately, there was a system issue with 90.1. Had a system issue with the phone. And your calls were unable to get through. Probably on one of the most important days of this election cycle. I just want to, they worked, 90.1 worked on it. They were able to get it going for the next show behind us. And I felt very bad for you all because on that show, they got to call in and tell everything they wanted to say about Benny and about everybody running in that race. So I really felt in my heart for our audience because you did not get a chance to express not one thing on our show about what you felt about the upcoming elections. You did not get to ask one question. You did not get one bit of feedback from a show that a lot of you all have come to accept as a bearer of truth and facts with nothing else in there. So that was extremely unfortunate for you. But as I told you all while it was happening, and go back and look at the incident, this is the reason that you need to be on our live platform. And we're running streaming live today on all platforms as we try to do regularly. So we are on Facebook. We are on YouTube. We will be on Instagram as well. So jump on YouTube if you like that visual better. Jump on Facebook if you like that visual better. But the one thing that showed us is a system issue at best cannot stop your voice from coming to us, right? Again, yesterday was very, very, very disappointing. I apologize that you all had to go through that. I saw you all calling in. If you look at our Facebook live feed, you saw us fighting as hard as we could to try to get those calls in. And unfortunately, we just didn't have any help in getting you all through to us. Like I said, we felt extra bad, which is the reason why we're starting with this, because we realized that it was fixed for the next show. And every single one of those audience members living in Jackson got to speak about this upcoming election, ask the questions they wanted to ask, clarify. And for a show like ours, which we just came off of a show that was hot through the city, asking people to explain what you've gotten for voting for the last 20 years versus not voting. And this was set to help us make better decisions when we pick a candidate. That's it. Not to ever disrespect the voting process. So, that malfunction took a lot of your voices out of the cycle. And now, unfortunately, most of the voting has been done. So, that's just a very unfortunate at best situation. And we're sorry you all had to go through it.
The live's still up if you want to go watch the live.
The live is still up from yesterday. If you want to go watch the live, we're people that hold other shows accountable for not speaking about things or not letting their callers come on. If you go look at our line from yesterday, you'll see KP and I fighting mostly by ourselves, trying to get that line back up and get it working. So you look at that, you go through the show, you make it make sense. But what we're telling you is that you cannot allow your voice to be lost like that, especially before potentially the biggest election of your state. So jump on that Facebook Live, jump on the Instagram Live. It doesn't matter if our voices, if your voices, and that's the downside, we said, KP, it hurt us because our voices weren't silenced. You can still hear us. Your voice wasn't able to get through to us. So what matters is that we're always able to come together and communicate no matter what works against us. And that's why it's important that you all jump on these Facebook pages, these Instagram pages, these YouTube pages. If your aunt is 70, if your uncle's 70, I had to help a few of our community members. Get them to get on one of those platforms, YouTube. They don't have to put all their personal information in there. They can just have a YouTube page. They can go to that page and they can see us flow through just like any other podcast that it flows through. But they're getting local information where they're being told where they can come to and get help. So when we talk about lawsuits against the water system, if we don't feel like we're being treated fairly. So when we talk about whether a rate case is the next best step. So when we talk about applying pressure to our city councilmen to do what we're asking them to do, you always have a connection to be able to continue that fight. Because the only reason, and this is what I made mention to yesterday, the only reason that your voice is valuable and would be stopped in any way is because coming together, we create what the community needs to move forward, right? And so this is just important. And it's not important because a system malfunction can't happen. It can happen. It's important because we know politicians have reached out and asked folks not to let us talk on the show. We know people have pushed back against every message that's come out of here. We know people have tried to sabotage the show previously, have tried to make sure that you didn't get a lot of this information. And thankfully, folks that were strong at that time, now folks change when that money flows, but folks that were strong at that time said, well, if he's telling the truth, why would we want to stop him? Somebody trying to play piano's coming over there. That was perfect timing, y'all. So this is what you have to understand, Mississippi. Right now, you are asking, what did we ingest? And it's becoming very dangerous to folks that don't want you to understand what was ingested. Is that fair enough, KP?
Yeah, we're making it more about the people than us. We want y'all to understand that it was more so, it was hurting us more because y'all couldn't say what y'all want to say and feel how y'all want to feel and get that stuff out. Because we gonna be there regardless. We gonna talk regardless, but it's more important to hear information from y'all because you know what I'm saying. It's y'all out in the community a lot too, and it's more majority of y'all. And we like an ether to get it from y'all and pass it back to somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So if you blocking that airway, you kind of messing up the transaction going on for us to keep it going. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely right. And go a little further into the people's voice. I mean, we're more concerned about them being able to speak to us.
Yeah, exactly. It's a team thing. It's a team effort. It's not just on us. It's a whole catalog of people doing the process to get this information out. So when we get a block like that in the road, you know what I'm saying, we got to figure out who put that block right there, or you know what I'm saying, what reason they did it for.
That's right. And it is just to, if for nothing else, if for nothing else, is just to make sure that that we understand what's happening, the why behind what. I think that's the important part. But to KP's point, I think that our bother was that your voice was shut off.
Yeah.
And the power is with the people. That's what we say, that's what we believe in. And we believe that the only changes that have been made so far have come because the people have sat up and have spoken. Right? The only changes that have come so far is because you have spoken, not because we sat up here. We're only speaking what the folks are talking about. That change comes from you all speaking. But what's happening and what you all have to understand is once folks see that the people rise up, now you have a problem bigger than 2 young men or 3 young men speaking about issues that come in front of them. Now you have a problem where the people are beginning to push back and say, well, hold on now, we want to know what we're ingesting, right, KP? Like, remember the old heartburn analogy we've always used. Our goal is to figure out what the heartburn, what the food, what we've been ingesting in Mississippi that's caused us to have this down outcome every time, right? And then to change what we're ingesting so that we get a better outcome. And you all have done an amazing job. We talked about that today. Best audience that has ever existed. I don't care. Go back through everybody. Because you all have moved through with courage. You all have stood up and you all have spoken up. And you all, once you all started calling in and putting local things on the front street, that's when things started becoming challenging for your voice to be heard. So you just got to keep demanding that your voice be heard, and we're going to keep creating avenues to make sure that type of thing never repeats itself. So today, for example, you'll see that we're on a live stream where we're going across platforms, right? We'll take the cost of that because you're worth that, right? But what we can't do is leave you in a position where your voice can be compromised simply because you want to know what's happening and you want to speak. You should have been able to speak yesterday about what you thought about any candidate that was up, no matter how anybody felt about it, and you weren't. System issues what stopped it, but we've got to make sure you always have that opportunity again. So let's look at the elections, because this was the important part. This was what you didn't get to speak about. We still want to speak to you about it. And again, anything we missed, this is to KP's point, and I'm going to say this when the young man ended. He was talking about the importance, guys, of understanding how every single thing happens. If you weren't able to make a call, if you weren't able to get your voice out, you need to understand how that happens. So when you bump into the guy that fixes the lines on the radio outside, you need to ask him, hey, what went on down there, man? When you bump into folks that work in here, just like you should hold me accountable. Haven't I always told people, if you see me in the streets, hold me accountable, ask me, hey, what happened? You've got to make sure you're inspecting what you're expecting. So if you're expecting your voice to be able to go over the radio and ask questions a day before the biggest elections of your state, you better go backwards and inspect why you weren't able to. Right? We're doing this at the same time. We're doing the same thing. But the point of that is, this goes to the root of our conversation the day before the elections, right? The day before. When the gentleman said, well, what has not voting gotten you? And we said, great question. Let's pose it. And we're going to pose the opposite question. What has voting got us? Now, that question, what has voting got us in the last 20 years, wasn't an anti-voting question. It was a question to put highlight on which candidates had done what, so we could make an informed, educated decision on who we want to vote for. We vote for people that are working for our betterment, not just for somebody telling us to vote for them. So the most insulting part was your voice did not get to be heard to go through that process. Your voice did not get to be heard to go through that process. So you have lanes in radio, right? You have 5 lanes, and there are going to be 5 different, a lot of times those are different communities or different sets of people, right? So the set of people that think openly from a make it make sense perspective, which often overlaps other shows, a lot of you all had a lot to say because you called me outside of it. You called me and asked me why you weren't able to get through. 2 of you that were just in the radio, everyone else watching it could kind of see what was happening. But that's the crux of how things fall apart. No, maybe you wouldn't have changed the election. Maybe you would have. Maybe the questions you raised would have made you change your vote. Maybe they wouldn't have. Maybe you would have shared something with your fellow Mississippian that would have caused them to look at things differently. Maybe you wouldn't have. But we all know that this is a platform where more likely than not, you're going to get a chance to hear and to say something that someone else doesn't know. So just understand your value. Maybe that's the biggest message of today. When your value is compromised, understand your value. And then understanding your value will make you understand that something random may not be random, but that's up to us as a community to look deeper into it and to hold those people in our community accountable. I always say the folks that eat at Johnny T's, they go to Shell, they come up right around us. Those are the folks that shouldn't be able to do things that hurt you and just be able to float through town okay. At least a question should be asked. When you see those I voted stickers, that should remind you, yeah, I voted too, but I didn't get to talk about it. And you start to hold folks accountable in finances to things, okay? Because this is about you. This is about you and your voice getting a platform to things that you say in private and never get to the public. And because it doesn't get to the public, folks that get in office are able to pretend they never heard you in the first place. And it breaks my heart that the day before a huge election, folks in our audience that have been so courageous to speak about things that have happened around them in truth and stand in truth were not allowed the ability to call in and talk to us. Hurt my feelings, but yeah. So it's you got money for war but can't feed the poor. Yeah, that's Tupac's one of his favorite lines. But yeah, so I think that let's look a little bit at the vote and let's think about while we're looking at this vote. Let's think about how important it is that your voice gets to be heard before a vote like this is taken. So you had polls closed at 7, we come on at 4. So that means that obviously we only get the chance at this point, because of the system issue, to talk to the folks that haven't voted between 4 and 7, which in Mississippi you probably know is not a lot of people. A good majority vote earlier, but from what we understand. So all 4 of Mississippi's incumbent U.S. representatives and its incumbent junior U.S. senators are running for re-election. The party nominees chosen today will compete in the general election on November the 3rd, right? So the beautiful thing is, you might not have got your voice through during that part, but you understand now the super importance of applying everything you hear on this show to that election, okay? Folks, you might have been quieted a little bit, but you haven't been hushed. Now you're going to come to those November 3rd elections with an attitude and with your chest out, because you weren't allowed to speak, so now you're going to be ready to make sure your voice is heard. So you have Scott Cologne, the Mississippi Democratic primary that's running today is Scott Cologne, Albert Littell, and Priscilla Till. And Priscilla's from Jackson. She's local, related to the Till family. And I know a few members of the family. Yeah, absolutely. The GOP primary is Cindy Hyde Smith versus Sarah Adalaka. I have some nerve messing up some of the names, man. I apologize if I do. I get
I'm pretty sure she
killed. Adlaka. I think that's Adlaka. Excuse me. So Sarah Adlaka. No results yet, guys. U.S. House District 1, Cliff Johnson. He was set up the the court to oversee Capitol. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I know it was him because I sat with him before. He set up the court where they were overseeing Capitol. They were people from the city working with neighborhood organizations, community organizations, where you would go into the Capitol and you had this whole system you had set up where you oversaw Capitol, what they were doing, what they were sentencing people to, and how they were carrying that court. So that's Cliff Johnson. That was an amazing setup there, and he's going up against Kevin Buck, who folks know. Mississippi District 1 GOP primary. Trent Kelly is running in an uncontested race. District 2, Benny Thompson versus Evan Turnage, and Curtis Williams. Benny Thompson is the incumbent in that. Incumbent just meaning the person that already holds the position. Just a step back a point, Trent Kelly, though he's going up against nobody, is the incumbent as well. Little thing you pick up there, realize Trent Kelly's just running. Nobody will run against him. Just kind of lock that in because that's always some type of political education that's there to be found behind that. Let's look a little further. You have District 2 GOP primary. District 2 Democrat primary is Benny Thompson, Evan Turnage, Curtis Williams. The GOP side is Ron Eller, Kevin Wilson. It's very important to us when you look at it, you understand A, who you're voting for, what they've done, and B, who's running against them and what they're looking to do. All of that has to come into play. But listen, for a lot of people like us, we're fine looking at that. When we ask you a question, what would be different in a certain area if they were a racist white politician over that area? This is the time when the rubber meets the road, right? Because this is what we're looking at.
I was gonna say, well, can they call in and tell us about those names? Like, do they do like? Can they say who they can't say who they voted for?
Tell them you need that. Yeah, you can ask them whatever you want. Young man, it's your city. Tell them I need you to know. But yes, people definitely, as we go through these names, call us and tell us what you think about them. To the young man's point earlier, we would have loved to have that happen yesterday before the vote took place in the primaries, right? But call us and tell us what you think about the folks and what they've done and what your hopes and what your fears are going forward. I think that's a great question to ask, KP. And tell us who you voted for if you feel like it. We're not
or not.
Yeah, or not. Whatever you want to do. We're radio hosts.
Tell us about some of the accountability that y'all found out about the people y'all voted for.
Absolutely. This is the rubber meeting the road. This is why your voice is so important. Being heard or not being heard. Because the price of last year is not the price of this year, right? The price of yesterday is not today's price, and that's you saying that. District 3, Democratic primary, uncontested, Michael Sharadio. And on the GOP side, Michael Guest is running uncontested. He is the one holding the position. District 4, you have on the Democrat side, Paul Blackman, Ryan Grover, Jeffrey Holm. Now, listen, this also helps you understand Democrats and Republicans. When I'm reading off this Democrat side, if you've never heard of these people ever standing up for one thing that black folk in the state face, that may give you a better understanding of the Democrat and Republican setup and how we should vote for our best interests, right? But we'll talk more about that. On the GOP side for District 4 is Mike Ezell and Sawyer Walters. So, tell us what you think about these nominates. Obviously, if you want to just stick to the Democrat side, that's fine. If you want to talk about the Republican side, that's fine. I personally think both are equally as important. You have to look at all evils. Sometimes you got 4 levels of evils here in America. You got 4 people running and you have 4 levels of evil. But you owe it to your children and to your elders and to your community to look at those levels of evil and try to navigate somehow through them. And sometimes the navigation is don't support any of them because they all want to hurt you too much. So instead, put that energy back into uplifting your people and running a candidate that may not have a chance, but that candidate can put your issues on a platform. So you may need to run a 3rd, 4th party candidate. But at least that candidate can say, I'm running off of the black folk in Mississippi being treated wrong. Now, that issue gets put on a platform. Doesn't matter if your candidate wins or loses. Don't let them make you believe that because I'm telling you to hold these people accountable, I'm an anti-voter, anti the system. They're anti-you succeeding. That's why they don't like me telling you to be careful with your vote and look at who we vote for. Sometimes you got to tear a house down and build it back up. Sometimes you can't keep putting evil people in office just because they look like you and expect something to change. That's the definition of insanity. One thing the older heads taught me when you were young, doing the same thing, expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. So we can't keep putting the same people in office and let them scare you by saying, if you don't put me in office, what? This is going to happen? On that note, 601-948-5950. Let's test those lines whenever you get the feeling to call in. Make sure your voice is getting through. But yeah, KP, what you about to say?
I was gonna say that you see that Brackney, the new chief, they raised her payroll to I think 155,000. and she goes to office on April 1st.
Ah, to the 150,000 in.
55.
155.
That's fine.
Okay. Well, I mean, what? It just seems like every adjustment, you know me, every adjustment can be made except for the people. You make an adjustment you should make a lot of times, right? It just amazes me that when it comes to other folks, you can make those adjustments. When it comes to our folks, that adjustment can't be made. When you only have 130,000 in the budget, you can find another 20,000. When Blossom Apartment only get 5 days, you can't work out another week or two for them. So I'm not mad at any of my sisters getting money or brothers getting money as long as you're not hurting us. All right, we got one. Let's see if it's live. Phones are working today.
Welcome to Make Sense, Carly, on there.
Welcome to Make It Make Sense. Caller, you're on the air.
Yes, thanks for taking my call, and I just enjoy your show, telling the truth. It's just that we are such some truth. But just keep doing what you're doing. I was out calling people, begging and asking them to go vote. Well, this and that. They gave all kinds of excuses, including some of my family members. But we got to vote, and we cannot be discouraged when we don't know the facts. Because we have people like Congressman Thompson in Washington, sure, has been up there like Trent Watson and Van Cocker. And we're not sending him there just because of the years. We're sending him there to stick up for us.
Yes,
And Benny Thompson is not afraid of Trump. He's not afraid of no Democrats, no Republicans. He will stand up like a man. And he's very professional when he stands up. He doesn't stand up with stupidity. So I don't know where the ad is coming from about what he has not done. If they check the facts, he has done more than anybody for Bolton, for Edwards, for Utica. The facts are there. But he's a congressman. He can't go down to Bolton and make people do what needs to be done in Bolton. But he put the money there. He put the money at Toulouse. So people need to really get the facts.
No, I love you listeners to my sister, and this is what I wanted you to have the opportunity to do yesterday. So again, this hits a sore spot because the vote already happened, right? But thank you for listening. Thank you for adding your opinion, because today we're talking election. We're not talking our opinion. We're a platform for you to voice yours. So thank you, and you keep listening, my sister.
Thank you, and keep doing what you're doing.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But this is what it was supposed to be about yesterday, you all. It wasn't supposed to be about me and KP's voice. You were going to vote. You were supposed to call. Maybe I agree with her, maybe I don't. That's not what it was supposed to be about. It was supposed to be out your voice flowing in. Now you call and tell us what you think about whoever's running your area, whether it's Benny Thompson, whether it's Liddell. You have the right to talk about what you feel about the person. And yesterday, only one side was told, and that was just the people that were expressing they were pleased with him. And that is not democracy. And black folks should never be the ones who ever allow a robbery of democracy to happen like that in our own house, right? And Jackson, for the time being, is still our own house. So yes, call us, tell us what you think. Whatever district you're in, tell us what you think. We told you at the beginning of this show, we don't want to teach you how to think. We just want you to know all the information so you can make the best decision. So, I mean, I think the sister's responding to some things. Nobody actually said Betty Thompson on the previous shows, but folks said some things that weren't being done in the Delta. Then folks called in and said some things that were being done. Well, the sister called and said she talked to Benny directly and he helped her. And then this sister talked about Bolton and the help he's given Bolton. That opens the door for anyone else in that area to call in and say, this is what I think about it. But you've got to understand that this show can't go on until the masses of the people, right? And the one thing that I will say is the only thing I would counter with my sister is this one thing. Maybe she didn't mean to say that. She said we cannot be discouraged when we don't know the facts. She may have meant to say we can't be discouraged if we know the facts, perhaps, but I want to clarify that. We should be extremely discouraged and motivated if we don't know the facts. That's what Make It Make Sense Jackson is all about. And it's really Make It Make Sense Mississippi. But we started this purely so we could provide the facts that folks don't know, because this is the issue. As much as we love Tarek Dutoit, if he's running for Senate, he's been sitting there for 20 years. As much as you love me, you need to understand who I vacation with. You need to understand, on top of what I've done, who I bank with, who I make deals with, who I'm favorable to, who I collaborate with, what bills I sign and what bills I don't. You need to understand what goes on behind closed doors, because all you get is a Democrat and a Republican standing together telling you what they can or can't give you. You're not at those cabins in the woods. You're not at those cookouts. You're not at those other places when they're talking about what the best thing is. In the Constitution, it reads we the people, not we the Democrats, nor we the Republicans. Politicians fully understand that. So I'm going to give you the real, not hope. So I big that system up 100%. We should get out and vote. We should know the facts so we know who to vote for. And I stand on it. You voting for a black person that has bad intentions for you is going to hurt you more in Mississippi with this racial history than you vote for a white person. Because that white person is not going to be able to apply the level of destruction that that black person is. Now, you never want to go against the grain, so that's why you have to know the facts. Look up these folks' campaign donations. You should, listen, if you're voting for anyone and you haven't gone to Michael Watson's website and looked at their campaign donations, let your brother, please, sister, please. Please don't call me and talk about you begging people to vote. That's not for my sister, because please don't talk about you asking people to vote. Please don't call up and talk about, well, the people that don't vote are the problem. No, you the problem. Because you vote for someone, you don't even know where his money coming from. You worse than the person not voting.
Yeah, it's like going to the store and not reading all the ingredients to the stuff you buy. I mean,
You just drinking straight motor oil.
just
You gulping it down. The other person say, I ain't going to that store at all. At least he alive. You over there just killing yourself. you just well, I voted. At least I voted. Yeah, at least you drank some motor oil, huh? Some of y'all out there drinking motor oil, drinking ammonia with some of these candidates y'all are voting for. I wish I could be 40. I wish I could, when I was a call center manager, I wish I could be at that job for 1 year and not get one positive thing done that you can touch with those people. And I'm talking about every politician in America. I'm not talking about anyone individually. So don't start to holler even if it hits you. Just shh. Nobody has to know it hits you. Okay? That's not what we're doing here. It's voting season. I'm talking to you about how you vote. You watch what these people do. You go look up Michael Watson's website, see who they get their money from, see who they're friends with. This will tell you more. Come on, man. That money that cross hand will tell you more about a person than what they say when that camera rolls. And it's not live. It's prepared. So what would you believe more? That prepared statement you're hearing when they need your vote, or them donations from a year ago that they can't erase? I've seen people giving themselves $15,000 over and over and over and over. Well, where are you getting it from?
I'm saying the more donation they get, the more suspicious it is.
No, suspicion should never be there. This is just knowledge, because it's not illegal. So you want to remove that word suspicion.
The more you should be digging.
Yes, because it's not illegal for a slumlord to give a senator big donations, and for them that slumlord to get favorable decisions from that senator-controlled district. That's not illegal. So it's on you. You can't depend on Mississippi laws and regulations.
No, they don't.
If you depend on Mississippi laws and regulations to protect you, you in trouble. And we got too many black folks sitting in positions in Mississippi and feel like they ain't got to speak up unless you know they do it. They ain't got to say that unless you know they do it. So you got all these problems happening with the water, and you
And I'm not saying we shouldn't, or we, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you have to take it upon yourself.
We talk every day about every single day about things that people do. I talk to you all the time. I thank you for the actual platform. We talked about how Mayor Horn actually sat on the housing, was the lead of the Housing and Urban Development Committee that oversaw, what we call slums in Jackson, and a lot of the affordable housing we worry about. So what he's talking about are those type of things. We brought that to you. Where did we get that from? And let me walk you through it. And thank you, sir. We got that from looking at the business website and looking at some of these relationships, looking at the Senate records. And then we saw, for example, Mayor Horn sat on the peer review board. That was the board that actually smacked the hand of Sean Spivey and Mississippi Housing Corporation if they did something wrong by writing a review and submitting it to Congress, I believe, or to the uppers. We talked about Gabriel Prado, how we didn't understand that all the stores that Gabriel Prado's family are creating, called the Don Gabriel gas stations, you have to go to Michael Watson, the Secretary of State's website. And when you pull up the initial form, you'll see they're all being set up as grocery stores. So we also get to see who's benefiting. We research surrender. All these things we're bringing you is because we didn't stop the research just because someone in Jackson, someone of power said they're good people. That's what we're used to doing. Our pastor, our imam, our mayor, our city council person, our girlfriend, our boyfriend, our sister, the hairdresser, someone says, man, they're all right by me. And that fills in for us just simply Googling them, putting them in the website and seeing whether or not they are all right indeed or not. So I think that that's the most important thing to understand is that when you call in 601-948-5950, we just want you to understand that you got to grasp that power. And what we don't do is stop anyone from speaking. Young lady, if you like Mr. Then call in and tell us what you feel about it. Tell us what you feel he done. And that's your perception. We're not going to, that's not our job to punch down on you for voting. But we do need the people to understand. Remember the guy that called in, well, why don't y'all run for mayor? Anything except give you the information. That's what you need to understand. Why don't we do anything except continue to give you the fishing rod? Why don't you just go ahead and fish it? Just go ahead and catch the fish yourself. Why are you trying to teach them how to fish?
Exactly. Well, you trying
So-
to teach them how to hold people accountable.
Yes. Shout out to Chattanooga. Shout out to all our listeners. Hattiesburg, shout out to you all as well. Canton, shout out to you all. I've been talking to people in a few different places trying to get a grasp on other places that have gone through this rate cases and have gone through some of the same experiences we have. That's a big one. I done forgot my Lyft driver that dropped me off. Shout out to my Lyft driver as well. Some of the best conversations I had, coming through talking to the people in the community. So Governor Tate is thinking about reintroducing the voucher legislation into this session. So it is not dead yet. And I was talking, as I told you all, to a teacher that was just discussing how hard it is for her to properly teach these students. Where she's either forced to fail them and justify why they failed, or run into a big problem trying to coach them up or teach them up to where they need to be. So I think we need to pay close attention to that school voucher legislation as well.
Aren't they talking about like extra sessions in order to get that done? Basically holding them hostage,
Yes. Governor Tate has approved extra sessions for the school vouchers, and so that gives you a hint that they're trying to go back around and then pressure folks. And you look at St. Richard's building up. If you're driving right down 55, you know that a Redeemer Church with Grant Callen from Empower Mississippi, and Candace Robbins, the former music instructor that sits on the Mississippi Charter Authorization Board. We know that their church, and Grant is a ruling elder there. I think she went to JSU. We know that their church just bought Chastain, the former school where it was the only school, if I'm correct, that had a parental program helping young parents and parents struggling to understand how to cope. They bought Chastain, and then all the fixes that any church you think would have helped the community with when they were struggling, now they're making those fixes and those changes. And now you see the school voucher legislation, which Redeemer, let's just say Redeemer Church's own Grant Callen, who's a ruling elder there, is the leading voice for school vouchers in Mississippi. Both white and black folks that want the public system to succeed have a huge problem with Grant Callen, Super Talk Mississippi's darling. They love him on Jackson Jambalaya. So these are the venues that kind of agree with the things that he's doing and what he's pushing. But right here in Jackson, right off north, you have Redeemer Church who's benefiting off of our children's school shutdowns, and whose members, whose ruling elders push for this, and whose black church members sit on authorization boards and don't say anything every meeting. So to the brother that called in, kudos to you, champ. You got off the phone too quick, but to the brother that said, well, why don't you all do it? No, sir. I don't know these people. I didn't go to school with everybody. I don't understand the nuances. I don't know whose cousin is who all the time. You don't ever ask someone else to do what you can do for yourself. That's craziness. It's been hidden from you. And I just happen to sit in positions where, oh, hold on a second, look at this. People need to know this. Oh, I bumped into this. Look at this. People need to know this. But anybody that wants you to stop getting that information, that brother, someone connected to something we're talking about is benefiting, and I'll let him call back in. Maybe it's not that. I welcome you, brother. 601-948-5950. So my Lyft drivers, if you all listening, the young men, I talked to a few of y'all. My brother from Tougaloo, young man that was in his 24, 25, it was two of y'all that drove me. Remember we were having that conversation. And you all talked about how those in power, those adults, are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're coming around as well. But you know what I find out? A lot of our 25-year-olds don't know about adults out here like us that are doing what we're supposed to be doing. And they don't know a lot of information. So to that brother's point, since we know so much, when I told this young 25-year-old who I know is going to speak about this in every circle he's in, who Gabriel Prado was, he simply didn't know where those gas stations were coming from and didn't realize they were connected to the Mayor Horns transition team. He had no idea that Daniel Prado was Gabriel Prado's younger brother. They both went to what's that school, Belhaven together. They knew people. They didn't know that. It's not like he didn't do anything illegal by going to Belhaven, playing tennis, then coming out and becoming a mogul. They did real estate, and all of a sudden now they're into convenience stores. So people that knew them in school say, hey, a few people said, well, they're in the convenience stores. That don't fit. This is what knowing what's happening does for you. Now you understand why Don Gabriel gas stations are charging you $18 for your beer, because the Gabriel Prado family is setting up Prado lofts right up the street that's going to gentrify that area. That's just how it happens. Folks in that area can't afford luxury loft prices, or the price of the goods around it that will rise with it, or the price of their house once that goes up. See what I'm saying? This is what happens when you get people on the phone. Hey, why are you talking about all that? Why are you talking about Lake Caroline? Why are you talking about these deals? Why are you talking about why they waited on Lake Caroline and didn't do nothing with it until that man was out and this man was in? Why are you talking about that? I love when you all get to see. I hate that your voices got quieted yesterday, but I think you get to see just how powerful you are. I think you get to see how powerful you are on this platform, people. Because they didn't shut us up. Let that sink in. And I'm talking about the powers that be, the system malfunction, whatever happened. It didn't shut us up. It shut you up. Somebody done figured out my plan. Someone done figured out our plan. Someone done figured out who we are. We people that believe in getting the power that you gonna save all of us, the masses. And now they've adjusted. The powers that be have adjusted. Oh, don't worry to waste your time stopping them. Stop them Negroes that think they're about to rise up off some of that information. And that's that brother that called in. Since y'all know so much, we don't know so much, brother. We were trying to tell people where to go look. It's a lot more for us to figure out. I wish you'd call back and tell us your name. Maybe we can start there. See what interest you have and how that matches with what you're saying. My name's Tariq Abdul-Tawwab. Transparency is a killer, boy, when you're dealing with dishonest people. Because we're not playing the same game, y'all.
Yeah, he came in with his pride in his hand, I understand.
At best. At worst, he came in with a package he was given and told, go ahead and get this package off. And that's why I want y'all to understand when posts are sent in to hit you. When there's a hit. When your voice is silent, that's a hit. Maybe it's just a system issue hit. Maybe it's an unintentional hit, but it's a hit.
I'm gonna make sense, Carly, over there.
Hey, man, look, I want to just say I appreciate what y'all doing, man. As for that caller who just called, all right, let's be real. That's what's wrong with Mississippi. Identity politics. Asking someone else who to vote for. Hey, man, if people are providing all the quality information for you to make a well-informed decision, calling the radio saying, hey, why don't you tell us who to vote for? That's coward crap. And like, man,
Beat the whole part.
people, especially the men of Mississippi, they need to reach out and grab a chair, stop with this coward junk, and go read, get informed, and go figure out who to vote for, not the crap we've been getting for the last couple of years. I'm gonna hang up and let y'all have it, man. But I just had to speak to that previous caller because that was a coward move. And if
Right.
you really want to know the truth, go do your own research and then add value to the conversation instead of pulling that coward crap. Y'all have a good day.
Yes, sir, my brother. We appreciate you listening. And I don't speak when the people are spoken. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to move on. I don't speak when the people are spoken. That's never been my goal.
Mic drop.
Yep. Yep. I tell you, people, you'll get it. Thank you, my brother. And I will revalidate what he's saying. He's saying that's what's wrong with Mississippi. And Mississippi is saying what's wrong with Mississippi is identity politics. Our brother is giving you, KP is giving you these hints. We're giving you these hints. And instead of taking them and doing something with it to empower yourself, you asking us, why don't we do it for you? Say less, brother. You said enough. So, I think that leads to the total focus of today, right? As we're talking about these elections, recognize the total focus of today is recognizing your value and recognizing when something happens. And sometimes something can happen to you that makes you realize just how strong you actually are.
Welcome, make sense to call you on the air.
Good evening, young man. Good exchange here.
Good evening, my brother.
Yes. How you doing, young man? I got a question. You mentioned that Michael Guest didn't have opponents. He's running unopposed.
Yes, sir. That's what it's showing. Showing that he is. I'm on the page right now. It's showing. Let me go back to me. Yep, Michael Guest is in an uncontested race for district GOP primary, District 3. Yes, sir.
Right. He's a congressman, right?
He is the congressman. Yes, Michael Guest.
Right. And I mean, I hear people, have a problem, with Benny Thompson. I mean, but Benny Thompson is in the second congressional district. And people are like that he's been there for 33 years, 38 years.
That's right. No, he is in the second district. You're correct.
Benny Thompson is the only man that we have. I mean, regardless, how he got rich like all the rest of the people in politics got rich, I have no problem with that.
Okay.
Michael Guest is not, with Michael Guest is not, he's unopposed now. You mean to tell me the other big roles don't have a problem going to Michael Guest district and live this and run against him?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a good point.
I mean, take Reed gonna be. Take Reed should have like he owned the government. You got
That's right.
those Negroes that ready to run against Take Reed. They get their problem. We can't run. We're no statewide office. You claim you had all the education in the world. Smart as Negro in the state of Mississippi. And Mississippi, the world don't measure Mississippi like the stupidest Negro. They measure Mississippi and tell us about the most smartest Negro guys.
Well, some people measure us, my brother, also by the elders' ability to work their young people up and get some young folks to take that fight over as well. But I agree with what you're saying. Let me be very clear. I agree we need some black folk running up against Michael Guest. There's no question to that. I think what some callers are also saying, my brother, with your wisdom, is just that they feel inferior because how can why are none of these young people good enough to start coming in? And the young people that think just like you think, like if you're the person in office, they're just saying, why can't you bring me up? So now a 40-year-old or 50-year-old from our community can go hard. But I agree with you, brother.
Well, the point about it is that young people want to go what they see other folks have, but they don't want to do what other folks do to get what they get. Now, I went to the polls here and I said, well, not one 18-year-old, not one 25-year-old at polls. Really, I'm the only person at polls anymore. At 9-15.
Now, you were also around, my brother, respectfully, you also around when the reasons for that happened. So you were around during that between 1965 and see, when you call me my brother, I'm going to give you the truth. I'm going to give it to you respectfully. Between 1970 and between 2012, where every single politician every month during Black History Month either talked about Dr. King or President Obama. Nobody talked about what they did during. Go ahead. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I think some people are saying when you punch down on
Black History Month, everybody wants to reflect on what Martin Luther King and Mr. Medgar Evers and all this stuff. My point case is that Medgar Evers and Charles Evans and Martin Luther King, they should be sitting on the back porch playing with their grandkids. They Negroes have represented.
There you go. There you go. Yes, sir. Now we're cooking with grease because those Negroes that took over power once the Dr. King crowd came out, the Abernathy, the Indian, those Negroes that took over power, the ones that have been sitting in office for a long time, brother. And I'm not talking about here. I'm talking about the bigger problems folks have is that crew you're talking about right there from 1970 till 2012, the war on drugs, the private prisons building, all the way up to the recent pandemic. All of those years, super predator years, the attack on juvenile, all of those years, we don't have anyone that did anything to save us or can put forward something tangible during that time. And that's what the voters are seeing, my brother.
The problem is not being a gun. The problem is Tate Reed and the rest of the Republicans that run the state. Like I say, you got 2/3 of white Republicans running the state of Mississippi. And that's the way it is in every state in the United States. The Republicans run the House of Representatives and the legislature in every state. Now, how did they do that? And then they think that they got a fair chance by bringing laws that's going to benefit, because black folks not understand everything about robbing and stealing black folks with the law.
Yeah.
And then like,
Yeah.
there should have been a lawsuit filed against the water. No one has yet filed an appeal. No one has yet filed a lawsuit. We have 15,000 doggone.
People file lawsuits, my brother. People file lawsuits. No politicians did. You saying no politicians, right?
Politicians don't give the private pro se person.
No, they filed lawsuits, sir. Lawsuits been filed over this water. Oh yeah, and Judge Wingate called them racist. Called Dr. King's organization racist when they filed a lawsuit. But let me get you off, brother. I got some more coming in. We appreciate you more than you know, brother. Keep listening to us, please.
Yeah, have a great day.
You have a great day too, my brother. We appreciate your wisdom. Yeah. No, Judge Wingate called them racist when they filed a lawsuit.
It's like, what do you say? I don't want a white man. Am I saying it wrong? He said something like, "Y'all ain't want a white man over the water," something like that.
That's that fear. Yeah. So, brother, and listen, we didn't get the other call dropped off, so, brother, you can feel free to call back in. But you got to be careful. We got to be careful with fear-based voting, right? So we're pushed to vote off fear a lot of times, right? So for example, my brother will say a lot of times, "Well, I like this person." I'm not going to use names. Folks use names. My voice is strong. We're right there in an election. You make that decision. But Joe Brown is what we'll call him. So Rep. Joe Brown's all right. Rep. Joe Brown's the only black person we got. Rep. Joe Brown been fighting against these white folk for 20 years, but they never told you what Rep. Joe Brown did tangible to move your family and your people forward. And then the next thing they'll go to is, "Man, we got nothing but all these white folks in legislation." And that fear is real, you all. That's not fake fear. The Citizens Council was enough to let us know that who is in power from a legislative perspective matters. But we've got to get to the table and talk about it. You can't just assume that we agree that having a dirty Negro is better than having a white man. You just can't assume we agree with you on that. Not at our age, brother and sisters. You got to come to the table with that. And I think that's the only point I differ with any of my brethren at an older age on. I agree with most of what you all say, my brothers and sisters. The vote is important, but that's what we differ on. A dirty Negro is not better than a white person that doesn't care about us or that's racist. Because when the dirty one is doing it, we're technically moving forward with progress. When someone is not doing it, all we have to do is ring the bells of the history of Mississippi, and I guarantee you everyone starts looking. If the priest was doing some of the same policy moves that Mayor Horn was doing, he would have a much different outlook. If the priest had come in and trashed that skateboard park, if the priest had come in and did nothing for West Jackson or South Jackson, if the priest had come in and just been in pictures with downtown Jackson partners every day, if the priest had come in and said, "You can have this land around the airport off the rip," if the priest had come in and immediately put in the papers, and you all know how I roll, I go off of newspaper articles, look up what I'm saying. Immediately, John Horn said, "I'm open to a private-public partnership with the water," before this water authority ever sailed through. If the priest had come in immediately saying those things, if the priest had come and cavorted and gone to Seringa Singh's church and sat up there with him hugging, after Seringa Singh said that poor boy Charles Hawthorne had lost his life, deserved to be executed because he stole beer. If a white mayor had been seen sitting in that man's church or anywhere near that culture, man, he would have been ripped alive by Democrats all throughout. That's why we talk to you about a plantation Democrat. This is understanding. When my brothers call 80, 90 years old, "Yes, sir, call me. I sat with your 90-year-old brethren." They taught me respect. But I sat with your 90-year-old brethren. They taught me respect backwards. Our grandfathers didn't come from an age. If you're 50 and you had a grandfather, he ain't tell you he loved you all the time. He may have never told you he loved you, but he told you what you needed to hear. He told you what slimy Negroes look like. He told you about the straw boss. He told you about how the South works and how it doesn't work. That was a proper upbringing. The education in school was extra. So keep calling, come call them, because we got to work through this together. We got to understand how the old mindset hurts just as much as a young man picking up a switch and shooting. Only difference is the young man is not a coward. You all are. That's the only difference. That young man will go to his opposition and try to do something. He's just in the wrong fight. You know, people are sitting up there doing nothing for our people and going around keeping the information from folks, telling them this is the best we can get, scaring them into voting for somebody. And you stay quiet so you can get that burial plot, or you stay quiet so you can get that job, or you stay quiet so you can get that position in society at the next cotillion or at the next event, so you can be represented and you can walk through and you can let everybody see how successful you are while your people starve the masses. Shame on you. At least them babies ain't responsible for that. They shooting back in a dang gunfight. And you telling them to have some courage and don't shoot. In the middle of a gunfight, you tell them to have courage and put the gun down. But you can't have courage as people walk by in your community every day and then you hear someone call in and say, these people are great. How many people have the courage to call in and say, no, they're not? I know you had the courage, and I have the courage for you because I talk to you every day. You know, I know who I'm talking to. And that's why I got no worry about people saying, who's he talking about? Y'all know. All of us that talk, we know what I'm talking about. Because these feelings and sentiments are ours, not mine. They flow through the people, not through Make It Make Sense Jackson. We're just a platform to ensure folks like the ones that called in and ain't gonna get to call in. We welcome you. Want to stop us from talking to you? Why don't you go figure it out, stop telling anybody? Or they want to call in and tell you you're ashamed for not voting for Benny Thompson because he's the black man there and we got to be scared of that white person. No, you're not ashamed for doing nothing but voting with your thoughts, with your understanding, and with your intelligence. That's it. And shame on people to keep the information from you and then have the nerve to punch down on voters because they don't want to vote because this apathy thing done set in. Because everything you done told them is a lie. Every time you speak to them, nothing happens. You tell them that 15 out of their 1,000 babies are dying, and you put that study on the back of the Clarion Ledger while they just keep dying. And then you got the nerve to turn around and talk about something. I don't know why these people don't vote. I do. And I want them to vote. I just know why they don't vote. It's very clear to me. And it's very clear to a lot of us in this generation where voting apathy comes from. And I know you want to keep talking about the white folks. We know what they're doing. Those that believe in white supremacy and dominating African Americans, refusing to let us climb here in Mississippi, which right now is the GOP with their policy. Let's just be honest. And everyone supports that, Democrat or Republican. So, what I would say, what I would encourage, I love when people call in and, we don't cut anyone off as they tell how much they love somebody and what they feel about them. I want them to talk more because then you get to decide whether there was anything real in there. You let folks go. Some folks like to hear themselves talk. Some folks have a lot to say. Both may bother you, so I apologize. Both may bother you. But the ones that just like to hear themselves talk will tell you what they don't mean to tell you very quickly. The ones that have a lot to say are going to tell you exactly what they want to tell you. You may not agree with it, and that's fine. But, we appreciate you all calling in and just letting us know what you think about things and how it looks. But I think this is a perfect close to this Tuesday and enter into Wednesday, right? We learned a lesson today. We learned that the people started responding. We learned that some people don't want the people to learn how to respond and would rather we keep that to ourselves and just go run for office and you do it. Don't let these folks understand it, right? And that's not the first call for that. Remember the gentleman called in and said, well, why don't you run for mayor then? Mm-hmm. My goal is to make sure that you see what I see, but why don't I run for mayor where I can't say anything, right? Because then I have boundaries around me. Do you see that push? I've had a lot of folks reach out to me. Hey, why don't you come over here and do this? They're being sent. Say, you get 80,000, you get 90,000, you get 100,000. 200, 300, that didn't matter. I don't know why you think that would matter. So this is a perfect, as we land this show, and we got a few more minutes on the back end. GW hooked us up. As we land this plane, we got to really understand. This started with us talking about what did you get for voting over the last 20 years? Well, what did you get for not voting over the last 20 years? That conversation got heated in a good way, y'all. People said, well, this is how we got affirmative action. Other people said, well, where did affirmative action lay us? What can you touch on it? These are all valid points, right? And then the day before your biggest election,
Cut the mics.
Your voice couldn't get through. Make it make sense, Jackson. It was a system issue, but you've got to make it make sense. We take it for what it is. If I were you, I would take it for what your power is. When someone puts a handcuff on you and then asks you to fight someone else, they let you know you're too powerful to fight with both hands.
And mind you, I might get a little deeper. I don't care though.
But show up.
But mind you, what was our last show? Wednesday before Tuesday?
Yes.
Our last show was Wednesday. I'm saying
Friday.
Last week.
No, Friday. The Wednesday of the previous week.
Right. So the mics was working then. Mind you, after that, it was somebody else. They came on. They mics was working.
That's right.
So after that, they played number. They played number gospel music and you know what I'm saying, music.
Yeah.
But
Nobody else
was on the, you know what I'm saying, using the phones. So
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So what was going on then that made the phone not work?
And that's important.
For us to come back to it. You see
Yes.
what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. And see, this is why I love the dynamic of the young man. I'm gonna call myself the slightly older man from now on, right? Not the old man. The slightly older man is that sometimes young people see something and their vision's a little deeper than ours. And that's absolutely correct. When you look at the flow of that, you know, you got to understand. See, when we say make sense of it yourself, we're fine with it being a system issue, right? We just get the information to give to you. So you need to look at, to the young man's point, well, Friday the show flowed fine. The mic worked for everybody. It was all gospel throughout the weekend for the most part. And then ours didn't work. The show before us worked. Ours didn't work. Then the show right after ours worked. That's important. It's not saying anyone did anything. It's giving you the facts and let you make sense of it. Let you make the young man, but let you make sense of it.
Makes sense of that.
Yeah, but listen, bro. There is nothing. Listen. My father could come in and be like, "This, that." I give him a heads up because I love him. I'm about to talk about you on air, sir. But that wasn't cool what you just said or what you did. If you made a policy, that's my sister. John Hopkins, listen, I'm about to go in on you because I don't like what you did. That's not right to the people. I mean, when the man and his sister were arguing in the city hall once. See, good people will argue over what they believe in. You get that? They're not just friends all the time. Me and KP should just agree with everything the other one says.
Well, it can make sense, call on there.
Yeah, 30 seconds, caller. You're taking us out.
Okay, this is what I got. Now, I've been to a radio station the other day, and a young man came on the radio station, and he said that the cause of the water system problem is that the city council and the mayor, really, they clogged the water system to people for grant or some kind of voucher or something. And they clogged the system off for more money than they were going to be able to draw off the system. So therefore, they put the burden on the back of the public to pay the money that they shortfall of the revenue that they're going to be able to generate for the water system. My point, then they said, once they finished the bar and the grant they got, they couldn't even find the money. The money was lost. So therefore, whenever they took the grant or took the voucher for the water system fund, they found the system fund. And what they got to do, they didn't even know what happened to the money. They still don't know what happened to the money. Is that true or not?
So hold on, are you talking about the $750 million that's left over?
No, I'm talking like this was done back in 1993.
93. So you're saying whether or not who would have done that? Let me just ask you that. Who are we saying did that?
Well, they mentioned names. They mentioned the president, city councilman that's still sitting on the council.
Who's that?
And they mentioned that the governor, whoever the mayor was back in 1993 in the city council.
I heard something.
I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you off, brother. I was agreeing. That sounds familiar, but I'm not going to pretend that my knowledge is deep enough to speak about it with names right now. But I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
Some research.
And we need to do some research on that. Yes, sir.
No, but they said when they got through with the deal, they didn't even know what happened to the money that they got through. However many millions of dollars that they climbed the water system fund, when they got through climbing the system, they didn't even know what happened to the money. How is that the FBI and anyone else not checking it? They took my buddy Subway to jail, claimed that he stole something, and they stole money right there, and they made it the win game, put the burden up on our back to pay the money back.
But
1993, they started in 1993. They never considered the money came up lost.
yeah, because I got someone they want to blame it for. I mean, I'll be very honest with you, my brother. I think we can all see, if nothing else, we're fair on saying this at this point. If you look at every black politician in Jackson and in the outlying areas that stayed quiet while Shockwave was charged with all these charges, fake charges, while Jody Owens is on tape saying everything he said, plus y'all know that boy ain't gonna take no money, right? So the fact that every black politician sat around and watched it happen and none spoke up to say, this boy's being railroaded, let's follow it. Now you have a legal lynching that's happening. So back in Prentice, Mississippi, and Yazoo, and a lot of these places, if a young black man was accused of doing something like raping a white girl or doing something, what they would do is they would put him in a jail, and they would come from Rankin County or some other county, drag him out of that jail, take him back to that county, then hang him up. So right now, you got them trying to drag him out of Hinds County, saying the whole Hinds County cannot be equal or balanced, even though this man just lost an election. And they're trying to drag him to Oxford to an all-white jury and hang him. And you still ain't heard none of these black politicians open their mouth, brother. You still ain't heard none of them open their mouth. I don't talk about him during the election. I let the people think what they want to think about him. CONTELPRO 2015 56 will tell you what happened. These young people are going to find out that y'all let them put all these charges on this young man just so none of your dirt would come out. Then you let them blame him for all of your dirt so it wouldn't come out, and you benefited from it. And y'all all sat quietly except the dirtiest man that was involved in the whole thing, according to the FBI, which was Jody Owens, who said on tape, y'all all know that boy ain't going to take no money. And all the politicians sitting there quietly right now, letting them drag this boy in Oxford and hang him up. That's what they letting them try to do. Shame on them. And that's why I say when you get on here and you talk about Betty Thompson, when you talk about Holmes, you talk about any of your politicians, you need to tell me what they're doing outside of that. We appreciate you, our brother. We got one more coming in here, but we got to look up just what he was talking about. Oh, they left. Call us back in, caller. You got 1 minute. Oh, no, it's closing. We're going to land it. So we're going to go ahead and land this plane. And we got about 3 minutes to talk to you briefly. It's very important this type of show grows the way it is. It's very important you understand they're trying to drag this young brother out of Hinds County Jail and drag him all the way into Oxford and then do what they want with him in Oxford. It's very important that you know that they don't think one person in Hinds County is good enough to make a fair decision on what happened in there. And we all know what it really is. When you uncover all that evidence, when you bring forth your snitches and your witnesses, the average black person in Hinds County is going to be like, you must be crazy. There's no way in hell I'm going to put that person in jail. So you trying to drag him on his back all the way to Oxford in the middle of the night and go back to 1919 and string him up before the real main city can even say anything. And Hinds County is sitting there. He said two. He said two. He said two. Hinds County is sitting there. We have two more. Hinds County is sitting there. SGW. Hinds County is sitting there, and he's telling them, okay, well, you just go ahead and drag him out of here. This is the thing. Go read that book, Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, if you don't have real things to put together with it, right? And realize that you letting them drag this man out of Hinds County into Oxford, because if he was so guilty, put him right in front of us right here in Jackson and in Hinds County. We the ones that got negatively affected if he stole from us. We the ones that got negatively affected if he has all these charges against him, 30 charges for 70 years. So put him on trial right in front of us. But what you're trying to do is drag him off in the heat of the night, and every black politician turn to the left and is watching that steak and cheese stuff cook on the grill while it's happening. You got to make that make sense, Jackson. So we're going to go ahead and land this for my co-host, myself, Tariq Abdul-Tawwab. Jump on our Facebook page, Make It Make Sense, Jackson, JXN. So the next time the signal is cut, your voice stays alive. We love you, Jackson. Keep making it make sense.
Drop it out. Yeah, close it. All right. But come in on time with it.
My mama lied. You should be ashamed. You should be ashamed.